the Krell warship shattered under plasma fire, and Ambassador Lyra watched from the observation deck as her new husband walked away from the weapons console without a word. 3 hours married. 3 hours into the peace treaty that was supposed to end 17 years of bloodshed, and Commander Jake Sullivan had just vaporized a diplomatic vessel. "What have you done?" Lyra's voice came out as a hiss, her crystalline skin flashing angry violet. The marriage ink was still fresh on their wrists, the ceremonial bond that made her people and his allies at last. Jake turned, his brown eyes cold as vacuum. "Saved your life. That ship carried the Krell High Council. That ship carried a fusion bomb in its cargo bay." He pulled up a holographic display. "Check the scans." Lyra's three-fingered hands trembled as she examined the data. Radiation signatures, unstable isotopes, a weapon large enough to crack this entire station in half. The Council would never... The Council just tried. Jake crossed his arms. Your people wanted peace. Theirs wanted you dead, and the war reignited with humans blamed for the assassination. The station's alarms screamed to life. More Krell ships dropping from hyperspace, their weapons hot and targeting solutions locked. "They're attacking," Lyra whispered. The treaty was bait. Jake moved back to the console, his fingers dancing across controls. They never intended to honor it. That's why your father insisted on a human marriage bond. He knew someone had to be ready when they made their move. Lyra felt her world tilting. Her father, the wise leader who had pushed for this union, who had chosen this specific human from Earth's fleet, not for diplomacy, for war. "How many ships?" she asked. 43 and counting. Jake's jaw tightened. "Station defenses won't last 10 minutes. Then we evacuate. No time. They're jamming the docking bays." He looked at her, and something in his expression made her skin burn cold. "I need you to trust me. I don't even know you. You married me." He grabbed her hand, the one with their bonding mark. "That means something to humans. It means I'll burn stars before I let them touch you." The station rocked under weapons fire, shields failing. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Jake pulled up a new interface, one Lyra had never seen before. Authorization codes scrolled past, each one marked with Earth's military seal. "What is that?" "Something your father requested." Jake entered the final sequence. "Something we promised we'd never use unless there was no other choice." Outside the viewport, space itself seemed to tear open, and through the wound in reality, something vast and terrible began to emerge. The thing that came through the rift wasn't a ship. It was a storm given form, a cascade of silver and lightning that stretched across 3 kilometers of void. Lyra had studied human vessels for months preparing for this marriage, memorizing their carriers and dreadnoughts and frigates. This was none of those. This was something they'd kept hidden. "Project Maelstrom," Jake said quietly, his hands steady on the controls even as the station shook apart around them. "Your father asked if humanity had a failsafe, something that could end the war in minutes if the Krell broke faith." The silver storm moved, and Lyra realized with creeping horror that it was composed of thousands of smaller objects, each one no larger than a fighter craft, all moving in perfect synchronization like a school of metallic fish. "We told him we did," Jake continued. "We told him the price. The Krell warships opened fire on the swarm. Plasma bolts and particle beams and fusion missiles, enough firepower to glass a planet. The storm didn't dodge. It ate the attacks. Every beam, every bolt, every missile vanished into that silver mass, and the storm grew brighter, larger, hungrier. Kinetic absorbers," Lyra breathed. "You built kinetic absorbers into a weapons platform. Not just absorbers." Jake's finger hovered over one final button. Converters. He pressed it. The storm exploded outward, and Lyra understood why they called humans the mad children of Sol. Each of those thousands of objects was now a weapon, each one carrying the converted energy of every attack the Krell had fired. They moved like falling stars, like meteors burning through atmosphere, and where they struck, Krell ships simply ceased to exist. No explosions, no debris. Just there one moment and gone the next, matter converted to energy so efficiently that nothing remained but a flash of light. 43 warships became 40, then 30, then 20. Stop this, Lyra grabbed Jake's arm. You're committing genocide. I'm following orders. His voice was flat. Every Krell ship in this sector came here to kill you and restart the war. Your father's orders were clear. If they break faith, we end them. My father wouldn't. Your father, Jake interrupted, finally looking at her with something other than cold calculation, loved you enough to make the hardest choice a leader can make. He traded permanent peace for temporary mercy. The Krell fleet was down to 10 ships now. 9, 8. They tried to run, jumping to hyperspace, but the silver swarm followed, tearing through dimensional barriers like tissue paper. The survivors will spread word, Jake said. They'll tell every Krell world what happens when humans make a promise and you break it. Your father knew this. He knew some of his people would call him a traitor. He did it anyway. 7 ships. 6. 5. Lyra's skin had gone white, the color of deepest shock for her kind. How long have you had this weapon? 16 years, since the war's 2nd year. Jake pulled up another display. We could have ended it any time. We chose not to. Why? Because using it meant showing our hand, meant revealing that humanity had cracked conversion technology, had solved the energy-matter problem that every species in the galaxy said was impossible. He gestured at the swarm as it consumed the last Krell warship. Your father asked us to trust him, to wait, to let him build a peace that would last. 4 ships. 3. 2. He said when the hardliners made their move, when they tried to kill his daughter and restart the cycle, that would be the moment, because then every moderate Krell, everyone who'd been sitting on the fence, would see their own extremists for what they were. 1 ship remained. Jake's hand moved to the console. He asked me to marry you not because he wanted a political alliance, Jake said softly, but because he needed someone who would protect you when the knives came out. Someone who would do what needed doing. The last Krell ship hung in space, weapons dark, shields down, surrendering. Jake could have destroyed it, should have, by the cold logic of war. Instead, he recalled the swarm. But he also taught me, Jake said, that mercy is what separates civilization from slaughter. The silver storm began to collapse, drawing back into itself, condensing into a single massive sphere that hung in space like a second moon. Lyra stared at her husband, this human she'd known for 3 hours, who'd just rewritten the balance of power in the galaxy while standing in a failing station wearing dress uniform. The war is over, Jake said. The question now is what comes next. Outside the viewport, the rescued Krell ship sat motionless, its crew no doubt paralyzed by shock. And across 1,000 worlds, sensors had watched, recorded, witnessed. Humanity had just announced itself as something new, something terrifying, something that kept its promises. The emergency channel crackled to life, and Lyra heard her father's voice for what she suddenly realized might be the last time. Ambassador Lyra, Commander Sullivan, the Krell sovereignty has just issued a galaxy-wide declaration. His words came measured, controlled, but she could hear the tremor underneath. They are formally surrendering, unconditionally. Jake moved to silence the calm, but Lyra stopped him. Her father wasn't finished. They are also calling for my arrest, charging me with conspiracy, treason, and the orchestrated murder of the High Council. A pause. They are correct on all counts. Lyra's legs gave out. Jake caught her, easing her into a chair while her father continued speaking across the void. I spent 3 years planning this moment. 3 years knowing that some of my people would never accept peace, would never stop until every human world burned. The moderates lacked courage. The warmongers had all of it. Her father's voice hardened. So I gave them a target they couldn't resist. My own daughter. My heir. The symbol of everything they hated about the peace process. He used you, Jake said quietly. Not accusatory, simply stating fact. He used us both, Lyra whispered. The marriage was real, her father said, as if hearing her thoughts across the distance. The bond is legally binding under both our laws. Commander Sullivan, you are now a prince of the Talmar people, with all the rights and protections that entails. Lyra, you are now protected under Earth's Spouse Protection Act, which means any attack on you is an attack on human sovereignty. Jake's expression shifted, understanding clicking into place. He made you untouchable. He made us, Lyra corrected, looking at the bonding mark on her wrist. The ceremonial ink had chemical compounds that altered DNA, creating a biological link between partners. Her father had insisted on the old way, the permanent way. She'd thought it was tradition. It was insurance. The moderate Krell are moving now, her father continued, with the hardliners exposed as oathbreakers and butchers. The political landscape has shifted. They are already forming a new government, one that will honor the peace. His voice softened. One that will not include me. Father, no. I knew the price, little star. I paid it gladly. Ecstatic crossed the line. But there is more you need to know. Project Maelstrom was not humanity's only secret. Jake stiffened beside her. Sir, that information is classified. Commander, my daughter just became your wife, and my people's link to humanity. She needs to know what she's married into.
Her father's tone brooked no argument.
Lyra, the reason humanity has been so eager for peace, the reason they agreed to this marriage alliance, isn't altruism. The display shifted, showing data streams Lyra couldn't fully parse. Stellar charts, energy readings, mathematical models that hurt to look at. 5 years ago, human scientists detected something at the edge of the galaxy, something that's been destroying civilizations for 10 million years. World by world, sector by sector, her father's words fell like stones. It will reach our region of space in 15 years. Lyra felt ice in her veins. What is it? We don't know, Jake answered. We call it the silence. Every species it encounters goes quiet. No distress signals. No survivors. Just empty systems and dead worlds. Humanity realized something the rest of us missed, her father said. We've been fighting each other while extinction approaches. Every war, every conflict, every petty territorial dispute is a waste of resources we'll desperately need. The station's damaged systems flickered, emergency lighting casting harsh shadows. Outside, the silver sphere of Project Maelstrom hung like a promise or a threat. The human strategy was elegant, her father continued. End the wars. Unite the species. Build a unified fleet before the silence arrives. They needed allies, not subjects. Partners who would fight alongside them when the real enemy came. So the marriage was always meant to succeed, Jake finished. Your father and our diplomats planned this for years. Create a crisis that would expose the warmongers, demonstrate our capability, and shock both our peoples into cooperation. He met her eyes. I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you. How much of it was real? Lyra asked, her voice smaller than she'd like. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached out, touching the bonding mark on her wrist, his fingers gentle against her crystalline skin. I volunteered for this mission, he said. Earth has 3 billion soldiers. They could have picked anyone. I spent 2 years learning your language, your culture, your customs. I studied you specifically for 8 months, your interests, your fears, your dreams of a galaxy without war. He smiled, sad and genuine. I was supposed to make you trust me. Instead, I started hoping you might actually like me. Lyra, my time is short. The new Krell government is sending ships to take me into custody. But before I go, know this. I didn't just give you a husband. I gave you a future. Whatever happens in the next 15 years, you and Commander Sullivan represent the best hope for both our species. Father, make me proud, little star. Make them all see that unity isn't weakness. That trust isn't foolishness. A pause. And Commander Sullivan, keep your promise. Burn stars if you must. But keep her safe. The line went dead. Lyra sat in silence, processing everything. 3 hours ago, she'd been a reluctant bride. Now she was a widow to her old life, married to a human warrior, facing a galaxy-ending threat most people didn't even know existed. Jake stood, offering his hand, the station stabilizing. We should move to secure quarters. She looked at his hand, took it. Tell me about the silence, she said. I'll tell you everything, Jake promised. We're partners now, for real. Outside, rescue ships began arriving, human and Krell both, working together to save survivors. The first joint operation of the new peace. The secure quarters turned out to be a human military bunker 3 levels below the station's diplomatic ring, all reinforced steel and humming generators. Lyra had never seen this section before. She suspected most ambassadors hadn't. Jake sealed the door behind them and pulled up a holographic display that filled half the room. What she saw made her forget about her father, the war, everything. The silence wasn't just destroying civilizations, it was erasing them. This was the Vryn Collective, Jake said, highlighting a cluster of stars. Population 40 billion across 16 worlds. Master engineers, artists, philosophers. They detected the silence 6 months before it reached them. The display showed desperate activity. Evacuation fleets, defense platforms, entire planets mobilizing. They tried to run, tried to fight, tried to hide. Jake's voice was hollow. It didn't matter. The stars went dark, one by one. No explosions, no battles, just silence. How long? Lyra asked. 72 hours from first contact to complete extinction. Jake zoomed out, showing dozens of similar dead zones. It's happened to 37 known civilizations, probably hundreds we never detected. And it's coming here. 15 years, maybe 16 if we're lucky. Jake pulled up another map, this one showing their current region of space. Humanity's plan is to build a unified armada, every species contributing ships, technology, soldiers, a fleet so massive that even the silence can't ignore it. Lyra studied the projections, thousands of vessels, millions of lives, resources from 100 worlds. That's why you ended the Krell War so dramatically, she said, understanding dawning. You needed to prove humanity could win. That joining you was the smart choice. We needed to prove we were serious about keeping our promises, Jake corrected. Every species in the galaxy is watching now, watching to see if the peace holds, if the marriage works, if humans and Krell can actually trust each other. He moved closer, his expression intense. Lyra, you and I are the proof of concept. If we fail, if this marriage collapses or becomes a political nightmare, every other species will assume the alliance is doomed. They'll go back to their old wars, their old hatreds, and when the silence arrives, we'll be divided and helpless. No pressure then, Lyra said, trying for humor and failing. Jake smiled despite everything. I did mention I volunteered for this, right? The bunker's systems chimed. Oncoming transmission, priority Alpha. Jake accepted it, and a woman's face appeared on screen. Human, maybe 40 years old, with steel gray eyes and 3 stars on her collar. Commander Sullivan, Ambassador Lyra. I'm Admiral Kate Morgan, Earth Fleet Command. No preamble, no pleasantries. Your actions today have triggered 17 different political crises. The Krell sovereignty has fractured into 3 factions. The Talmar Assembly is in chaos, and every other species in the sector is demanding to know what the hell Project Maelstrom actually is. Permission to speak freely, Admiral? Jake asked. Granted. Good. Because we just prevented a massacre and ended a 17-year war in under 4 hours. If that causes political headaches, respectfully, that's above my pay grade. The Admiral's expression didn't change, but Lyra caught the ghost of a smile. Agreed, which is why you're both being promoted. She gestured off-screen. Commander Sullivan, you're now Captain Sullivan, with full authority over Project Maelstrom and associated assets. Ambassador Lyra, you're being appointed Special Envoy to the Unity Fleet with diplomatic immunity across all Allied territories. Lyra blinked. I just became a traitor's daughter. Half my people want me arrested. The half that matters wants you alive, Morgan countered. The moderate Krell have already requested you as chief negotiator for the final peace terms. They're calling you the Bridge Princess. Social media across 14 species is painting you as a symbol of unity. She leaned forward. Also, your marriage just became the most watched event in galactic history. 4 billion beings saw the ceremony. 8 billion watched your husband destroy the Krell hardliner fleet. Jake groaned. We're famous. You're necessary, Morgan corrected. Captain, I need you to take Ambassador Lyra to Earth. Show her the Silence Research Facility. Show her what we're really building. Then you're both heading to the Krell homeworld for the formal peace signing. The Krell homeworld? Lyra's skin flashed alarm yellow. Admiral, they'll kill us on sight. The new Krell government has guaranteed your safety. Your father negotiated it as part of his surrender terms. Morgan's expression softened slightly. He's being held under house arrest, not execution. The moderates know killing him would make him a martyr. Instead, they're letting him retire with honor, provided he never holds office again. Relief flooded through Lyra so intensely she had to sit down. Jake's hand found her shoulder, steadying. There's more, Morgan continued. We've detected anomalies at the edge of the silence zone. Energy signatures that don't match previous patterns. It might be moving faster than we thought. How much faster? Jake asked. 12 years instead of 15. Maybe less. The room went quiet. 3 years was the difference between ready and helpless. Then we'd better make this alliance work, Lyra said, forcing strength into her voice. When do we leave for Earth? Your transport departs in 2 hours. Pack light.
Morgan paused.
And Captain Sullivan, one more thing. The crew of that last Krell ship you spared, they've requested asylum on Earth. Said they'd rather die as human allies than live as Krell traitors. Jake and Lyra exchanged glances. Granted, they said simultaneously. Morgan actually smiled this time. You two are already thinking like partners. Keep it up. Humanity's counting on you. The galaxy's counting on you. She saluted. Morgan out. The screen went dark. Lyra stood, moving to the viewport that looked out on the damaged station. Repair crews worked in the wreckage, human and Krell side by side, already learning to cooperate. 12 years, she said quietly, to unite a galaxy that's been fighting itself for centuries. To build a fleet that can stop something that's killed billions. To prove that peace is possible. Jake joined her at the viewport to prove that a reluctant Talmar princess and a human soldier can make this crazy marriage actually mean something. She looked at him, this man she'd known for less than a day, this warrior who'd just rewritten history while protecting her. The bonding mark on her wrist pulsed with her heartbeat, chemically linking them in ways she was only beginning to understand. I don't love you, she said honestly. I don't love you either, Jake replied. Yet, but I trust you. That's a start. He offered his hand again. Partners? Lyra took it, squeezing tight. Partners! Outside, the silver sphere of Project Maelstrom began folding into itself, compressing into something small enough to travel. A weapon that had ended a war. One weapon against the silence. They were going to need more. Earth looked impossibly blue from orbit, and Lyra understood for the first time why humans fought so fiercely for everything they loved. The transport had taken 8 hours through hyperspace, giving her time to read the classified files Jake had shared. Project Maelstrom was just the beginning. Humanity had been preparing for the silence for 5 years, building weapons and strategies in absolute secrecy, while publicly playing the role of desperate warriors trying to end a losing war. Every diplomatic overture had been calculated, every peace offer strategic. The Krell conflict had been bleeding humanity dry, yes, but not as badly as they'd pretended. You lied to everyone, Lyra had said during the flight. We misdirected, Jake corrected. There's a difference. We really did want peace. We really were dying in the war. We just had a bigger reason for wanting it to end than anyone knew. Now they descended through Earth's atmosphere, and Lyra pressed against the viewport like a child. Oceans, continents, cities that sprawled across landscapes like glittering webs. 3 billion humans lived here, and somewhere below, scientists were trying to crack the secret of an extinction event. The transport landed at a facility built into a mountain range Jake called the Rockies. Armed guards flanked every entrance. Security scanners swept them 3 times before allowing entry. "Welcome to Deep Harbor," said a man waiting in the hangar. He was older than Jake, maybe 60, with dark skin and tired eyes. Dr. Cinder Gate, Leonard Hayes, chief researcher. You must be the famous couple. Infamous, Lyra muttered. Hayes laughed. Fair. Come on. We don't have much time. The Council of Species wants a full briefing in 6 hours, and you need to see what you're actually selling them on. He led them through corridors carved from solid rock, past laboratories filled with technology Lyra couldn't begin to identify. Scientists worked frantically, their faces showing the strain of impossible deadlines. The silence isn't a weapon, Hayes said as they walked. It's not an invasion. It's something worse. He opened a door to a theater-sized room dominated by a massive display. What Lyra saw made her stomach drop. The silence was alive. Not organic. Not mechanical. Something else entirely. The display showed it moving through space like oil through water, reality itself warping around it. Where it passed, stars didn't just die. They were unmade, erased from existence so completely that even their light disappeared retroactively. We've been studying the dead zones, Hayes explained, running simulations, analyzing the energy signatures. The silence isn't destroying civilizations. It's harvesting them. Jake went very still. Harvesting what? Information, culture, technology, memory. Hayes pulled up a new image showing complex mathematical models. Every species it encounters gets absorbed. Their knowledge, their history, everything that made them unique becomes part of the silence. It's not malicious, it's collecting. Like a museum, Lyra whispered. Like a grave, Hayes corrected. A grave that's been filling for 10 million years. We estimate it's consumed over 15,000 civilizations, maybe more. The number was incomprehensible. 15,000 entire species, each with their own dreams and cultures and achievements, all erased and absorbed. Can we fight it? Jake asked. Hayes hesitated. We don't know. Conventional weapons don't work. The Vryn tried everything. Nuclear strikes, antimatter bombs, gravitational weapons. The silence absorbed it all and grew stronger. Project Maelstrom uses kinetic conversion, Lyra said, thinking fast. It turns energy attacks back on the attacker. Would that work? On a normal enemy, yes. On the silence? Hayes shook his head. It doesn't attack. It just exists in a space, and everything in that space ceases to be. There's nothing to convert. Jake moved closer to the display, studying the silence's progression pattern. It's methodical, moving through the galaxy sector by sector, never leaving gaps, never rushing.
Correct.
It's patient, thorough. Hayes pulled up a timeline. At current speed, it reaches the edge of known space in 12 years. Then it continues inward. Our projections show it consuming this entire region within 20 years. Unless we stop it, Lyra said. Unless we survive it, Hayes corrected. Captain Sullivan, Ambassador Lyra, I need you to understand something. We might not be able to kill the silence. Our best hope might be escape. Escape where? Jake demanded. It's been consuming the galaxy for 10 million years. Where's left to run? Hayes pulled up a new map, this one showing something beyond the galactic rim. A vast darkness punctuated by distant light. Andromeda, he said quietly. The nearest galaxy, 2.5 million light-years away. Lyra's mind reeled. That's impossible. No ship can travel that far. No current ship, Hayes agreed. But we're building one. Actually, we're building 12. Generation ships capable of carrying 50,000 people each. They'll travel for 2 million years in cryostasis, giving humanity and our allies a chance to survive even if Earth falls.
Jake looked like he'd been punched.
You're planning to abandon the galaxy. We're planning insurance, Hayes said sharply. Captain, I've spent 5 years studying this thing. I've watched simulations of it consuming Earth, the Krell homeworld, every inhabited planet in known space. If we can't stop it, we need a backup plan. The Alliance won't accept that, Lyra said. If humanity admits we're building escape ships, every other species will panic. They'll think we're giving up. Which is why it's classified beyond top secret, Hayes replied. Only 12 people in the entire government know about the generation ships. Now it's 14. He looked at them both. Your job is to sell hope, to convince the Council of Species that the Unity Fleet can win, to keep everyone focused on fighting instead of fleeing. While you prepare to run, Jake said bitterly. While I give our species a future regardless of whether we're brave enough or strong enough or lucky enough to win. Hayes's expression was iron. I'm a scientist, Captain. I deal in probabilities. And the probability of stopping something that's been unstoppable for 10 million years is not good. Lyra understood now why her father had orchestrated everything so carefully, why the marriage had to be real and binding. Why humanity needed allies who would fight beside them, not just for survival, but for hope. Because hope was what kept people from running. Show us the generation ships, she said. Hayes smiled grimly. Follow me. They descended deeper into the facility, past layers of security that made the upper levels look casual. Finally, they entered a chamber so vast Lyra couldn't see the far wall. Inside, the skeleton of something impossible was taking shape. A ship the size of a small moon, its frame stretching into darkness. Construction drones swarmed over it like insects, welding and assembling piece by impossible piece. The Exodus-class generation ship Horizon, Hayes said. First of 12, scheduled completion in 11 years. He gestured at the massive frame. Each one carries 50,000 in cryostasis, plus genetic samples of every species willing to contribute, plus the sum total of our combined knowledge and culture. A lifeboat, Jake said quietly. The last lifeboat, Hayes confirmed. If the silence wins, if the Unity fleet fails, if everything we're building isn't enough, these 12 ships launch. They carry the future into a new galaxy and pray something survives. Lyra stared at the massive construction, feeling the weight of what they were asking. Go to the Council of Species and lie. Tell them victory was certain. Keep them fighting while humanity prepared its escape. No, she said. Both men looked at her. Ambassador, Hayes asked carefully, no more lies. No more secrets. Lyra turned to face them. If we're asking every species to contribute their people, their ships, their hope to this fight, they deserve to know the truth. All of it. They'll panic, Hayes protested. They'll fight harder, Lyra countered. Humans lie when afraid. Talmar bond when threatened. Krell organize when desperate. Every species responds to crisis differently. But they all deserve the choice. Fight with hope or fight with certainty. Either way, they fight as equals. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, genuine and proud. My wife makes a good point, he said. Hayes looked between them. The Admiral will never approve this. Then we go over her head, Jake said. Straight to the Council. Full disclosure. Everything. You'll destroy the Alliance before it even forms. Or we'll forge one built on truth instead of manipulation. Lyra touched her bonding mark. My father taught me that real unity requires trust. You can't build trust on lies. Hayes stared at them like they'd lost their minds. Then he laughed, the sound echoing through the vast chamber. You two really are perfect for each other, both absolutely insane. He sobered. All right. I'll set up a full council briefing. But when this blows up in our faces, I'm blaming you both. Deal, they said together. Outside, Earth turned beneath them, blue and beautiful and doomed. Unless they could convince a galaxy to trust them, the Council of Species met in neutral space, aboard a station so old nobody remembered who built it. Representatives from 47 different civilizations filled the chamber, their forms ranging from crystalline to gaseous to things Lyra had no words for. They were all watching her and Jake. You're asking us to believe, said Ambassador Trell of the Zante Concordat, his 4 arms crossed skeptically, that humanity has been preparing for an extinction event for 5 years and told no one? Yes, Jake said simply. You're asking us to trust, continued High Priestess Bakara of the Singing Reaches, her voice harmonizing with itself, that this silence is real and not some human fiction designed to seize control. Yes, Lyra answered. And you're asking us, growled Commander Zax of the Krell Moderates, his scales darkening with anger, to contribute our fleets, our people, our futures to a fight that your own scientists say we'll probably lose? Yes, they said together. The chamber erupted. 47 species shouting in 47 languages, the translation systems barely keeping up. Accusations of manipulation, demands for proof. Threats to withdraw from the Alliance entirely. Jake let them rage. Lyra waited beside him, her skin cycling through colors that reflected her nervousness but refusing to show fear. Finally, the noise died down enough for her to speak. My father was executed this morning, she said quietly. The chamber went silent. The Crow moderate government decided that house arrest wasn't enough, that his crimes required a public answer. Lyra's voice stayed steady even as her hearts broke. He knew it would happen. He accepted it because he believed that real peace required sacrifice. She pulled up the holographic display, showing the silence in all its terrible glory. My father spent the last 3 years of his life orchestrating a war's end. He made himself a traitor. He made me a symbol. He gave humanity the opening they needed to reveal their greatest weapon and their deepest fear. She looked around the chamber. He did this because he understood something the rest of us didn't. We're already dead. Murmurs of protest, but she continued. Every species in this chamber is on the silence's path. Maybe not this decade or the next, but eventually. It's been consuming the galaxy for 10 million years. It's patient. It's thorough. And unless we do something unprecedented, it will erase us as completely as it erased 15,000 civilizations before us. Jake stepped forward. Humanity lied to you. We manipulated events. We kept secrets. All of that is true. He activated another display, showing the Exodus-class ships under construction. We also prepared to abandon you, to save ourselves and run while the rest of the galaxy burned. Gasps, angry hisses. The Xanthi ambassador started to stand. But we're not doing that, Lyra said firmly. We're telling you the truth. All of it. The threat, the weapons, the backup plan. Everything. Why? Bakara demanded. Why reveal your escape if not to taunt us? Because we're offering you seats, Jake said. 50,000 per ship. 12 ships. 600,000 souls total. Any species that wants to contribute people and genetic samples to the Exodus fleet is welcome. The chamber went very quiet. You're offering us salvation, Zack said slowly, after lying to us for years. We're offering partnership, Lyra corrected. The Exodus fleet is Plan B. Plan A is still the Unity fleet, a combined armada unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen, with every species contributing their best technology, their finest warriors, their greatest minds. She looked around the chamber. But we won't build it on lies. Either we trust each other completely, or we don't deserve to survive. Ambassador Trell leaned forward. And if we refuse, if we take our fleets and run now, try to escape on our own, then you'll die alone, Jake said bluntly. The silence has consumed species far more advanced than any of us. The only chance, slim as it is, requires unity. Real unity, the kind built on trust and shared sacrifice. Like a marriage, Vikara said softly, understanding dawning. Said, exactly like a marriage, Lyra agreed, touching her bonding mark. Captain Sullivan and I barely know each other. We were strangers 12 hours ago, but we're bound now. Chemically and legally and by choice. We're trusting each other with our futures because that's what survival requires. She pulled up one final image. Earth, the Krell homeworld, Talmar, Xanthe, the singing reaches. 47 worlds, all beautiful, all unique, all doomed. The silence doesn't care about our politics or our wars or our pride, she said. It just consumes, so we can die divided, preserving our hatreds right until the end. Or we can fight together, combining everything we are into something the silence has never encountered before. A unified galaxy, Zack said, his tone wondering. A fighting chance, Jake corrected. Nothing more. The odds are still terrible. We might build the Unity fleet and still lose. We might evacuate on the Exodus ships, and the silence might follow us to Andromeda. There are no guarantees. But there's hope, Lyra finished. Real hope. the kind worth dying for. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Ambassador Trell stood. The Xanthi Concordat pledges 12 dreadnoughts and 5,000 volunteers to the Unity fleet. We also request 2,000 slots on the Exodus ships for genetic samples and cultural archives. Vekara rose next. The Singing Reaches offers our harmonic weapons technology and 300 singers trained in psychic warfare. We request 500 Exodus slots. One by one they stood, 47 species pledging their futures to a desperate gamble. Commander Zax was last. The Krell moderates offer our remaining fleet 23 warships, 6,000 soldiers. He looked at Lyra, his eyes ancient and sad. Your father knew this would happen, knew that only brutal honesty could forge real unity. He was a better leader than we deserved. He was a father who loved his daughter, Lyra said, tears finally falling, and a visionary who loved his galaxy more. The session continued for hours, working out details and logistics and contingencies. By the end, they had the framework for something unprecedented. The Unity fleet would launch in 8 years with combined technology from every species. The Exodus ships would finish in 11, carrying samples of everything worth saving. Humanity had 12 years to prepare for extinction. The galaxy would face it together. Later, alone in their quarters, Lyra and Jake stood at the viewport watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the silence was consuming another world, another civilization going dark. Do you think we can win? Lyra asked. Honestly? Jake put his arm around her shoulders, the gesture still new but feeling right. I don't know, but I know we'll try. And I know I'm grateful I get to try with you. She leaned into him, this human warrior who'd destroyed a fleet to save her, who'd revealed humanity's deepest secrets because she asked, who was facing the end of everything with quiet courage. I still don't love you, she said. I still don't love you either, he replied. But I think I'm getting there. Me too. They stood together watching the stars, knowing that somewhere in that vast darkness an ancient hunger was approaching. But they also knew they wouldn't face it alone. 47 species, one fleet, one desperate chance, and a marriage that started as politics and became something real. The galaxy had 12 years to prepare for the silence. They would make them count. Far below, on Earth, the first Unity fleet ships were already under construction. Beside them, the Exodus vessels grew larger every day. Hope and Backup Plan built side by side. Humanity had shown the galaxy how to strike like falling stars. Now they would teach them how to burn bright until the very end.